If you're ready for freedom from the grind, then passive income from real estate investing is the best way to get you there. If you don't know where to start or what to do next, then the Rent Roll Radio Show is the best place to get you there. Join us while we discuss the best practices, strategies, and mindset you'll need and give you actionable content to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Hey, Rent Roll Radio listeners, welcome back to the show. As always, I'm your host, Sterling Chapman. Today, we are joined by Jens Nielsen, who is the founder of Open Doors Capital. Open Doors with an S, not to be confused with Brandon Turner's Open Door Capital. Jens, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely, Sterling. I'm excited about our conversation today.
Now, I just got to ask, did you come up with that name before Brandon's company blew up?
I registered my website years before his, so there's something to be said there. And I did actually meet him at a conference. I said, "Hey, are you okay with this?" He didn't care. But we are probably going to rebrand just to avoid that confusion.
Well, and he had a similar situation with Open Door, just the company Open Door, and so that's why I think they rebranded to ODC. So it's crazy out there. Everybody's trying not to copy them, but there's only so many ideas, we just all.
That's right.
So I had a hell of a time naming mine because my name is Sterling Chapman, and for whatever reason, both of those names are incredibly entrenched in the financial acumen world. So there's a million different versions of Sterling Properties, Chapman Capital, Sterling Capital, Chapman Financial. There's everything. I had to go down a laundry list before I landed on something that wasn't taken.
Yeah, it's always a challenge.
So tell us a little bit about your story. Where are you from? What did you do before real estate? What are you doing today?
Yeah, given my name and my maybe slight accent, I was born and raised in Denmark. Lived there until my early 20s and then moved to London, England, I think in 93. Was there for a couple of years and then on to the US. I was in telecommunication back in my early career and, I was blowing up there in the 90s. So
what telecom carrier? I came from telecom. What were you with? Who were you with?
I was not with any of the big ones. We were small, I was with Telecom Denmark back in the day.
Yeah.
So that was But after that, I have to come into the U.S. We were just a vendor of some monitoring equipment for some of the larger, all the large big names here, right? But it gave me an opportunity to travel all over the world because, as you know, it was just blowing up there in the late 90s. So, super fun. Did what I was supposed to do. Got my education, undergrad and master's degree, and just worked. And then I got into IT and computer systems and had a 25, 27 year career in that. And then about in my mid 40s, I was like, wow, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? I was feeling these younger people nipping at my heels, and I would have to really change, my skill set. I was like, I don't really want to go and retool at this age in my industry. So that's when I discovered real estate and started out, small by buying some fourplexes. I was living in Colorado then. I was buying stuff in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Some couple of fourplex in an 11 unit. I kind of really got bit by that, got the bug for real estate and decided that, I wanted to go down the route of joint ventures, then syndications, and started syndicating in 2019, did a few deals then. I've still done I think 15 or 17 different syndications since. And I do it full time, quit my job a couple of years ago, do this full time, work out of my house every single day. And it's a great transition.
So when you say you've done 15 or 17 deals, what exactly does that mean? And the reason I ask is, multifamily investing is very much a team sport, right? So I've got in all my deals, I've got a number of partners. Some I'm the lead on, some I'm not on the lead on, but there's a kind of an acceptable deal in the community where, you can raise $50,000 for somebody else's 400 unit and then go around and go, I got 400 units. And so that's what I'm like, what is your main role in these projects, and has that evolved, and is it different from project to project? or you just run a completely in-house shop, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was actually just looking. I have 18 active deals right now, and I've sold 9. So it's 20. What is that? 27 deals that I've been a
Awesome.
part of, and anywhere from a fourplex that I bought with my own money to co-sponsoring large deal where it's like, I have a 0.5% ownership in
Sure.
the deal, right? So it started out buying in my own account, did my first joint venture with some partners, and then the syndication. But absolutely right. The first syndication was that little bit of that co-sponsor model, right? Help raise some equity, help did some underwriting, due diligence, just for a very small slice. But it got me into the game, right? I was not by any stretch of the imagination a lead there, but it got me into the game, and it got me the credibility of having been a part of a big deal. I can say I have 200 units, yeah, but you can start, get that credibility by association, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
the first few deals was very small ownership, but then I lucked out. I found my now partner, and him and I have a lot of congruency, and we complement each other well. So it went from having, a few percent to like 10, 20, 50% GP stakes in some of the deals that we've done together, right? One of my best performing deals, like 35 townhomes we did, him and I, 50-50 GP, we raised the money and we're just running this deal, right? That's an amazing deal because fewer partners, less problems, and a good performing deal. So, but you're right. Every deal is a little bit different depending on location, depending on the partners. But my partner and I tend to do them all together because we like working together and so forth.
So my next question, and I hope I'm not prying too much, but this is the stuff that people want to know. You said you quit your job a few years ago and you're doing this full time. So like, how are you living doing this full time? Because, it's very, very much delayed gratification type of gig, right? Like I invested in an apartment complex that we're going to sell in 5 years. I'll make a ton of money in 5 years, but like right now I don't have any money, So the question is like, is it acquisition fees? Is it asset management fees? Have you just been doing it long enough that now deals are starting to sell and you can hibernate for 6 months between, dispositions or refis? Or what is your, what it, and I'm not asking to call you out. I'm asking to try and figure it out for myself. What is your like kind of daily, like, or monthly income stream look like related? And I'm not asking the dollar amount. I'm just asking like from a source perspective, like how does that machine keep getting fueled?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, right? And I struggle with that initially. It's like, man, how am I ever going to get out, right? Because making 6+ figures in my IT job, that's a nice income. So my strategy was, so we before we got on recording, we talked about mentoring programs that we both been in. So I got an opportunity to start coaching and mentoring people. So suddenly there was a side stream of income there. So I was like, wow, I really like this. So I actually I started mentoring people on the side. Then I actually became a certified high performance coach, and I started coaching people in the real estate business. So I literally started a side business of coaching, which can be very lucrative, right? So like, wow, if I just do 5 or 10 hours of this a week, I can pay my bills, right? So suddenly that actually gave me like, well, now I can quit my job because if I can just maintain this, I can pay the bills. So I basically say now my coaching is what keeps the light on and the food on the table. Real estate investing is what allows me to travel to. We're going to New Zealand in a couple of weeks, all the quote unquote luxuries.
Yeah.
So that was one way. And other people have done stuff. Maybe they are an agent. They sell a few houses on the side, right? They flip some houses, right? Because you're absolutely right. It takes a while. So, 2019, 2020, a little bit of acquisition fees, a little bit of stuff. 2021, we did like 9 deals, right? Then it starts adding up on the acquisition fee. 2020, we did 5 deals, but we also sold 5. Last year was the best year ever for me, right? From an income standpoint. This year, we know the market's a little bit different, so the income may not be quite as high, but I'm starting to see that
Yeah.
the flywheel, if you will, right? So I love the question because it's very tactical. What do you do, right? Because it's hard to get out of your W-2 job from real estate investing, right?
Yeah. Well, I was talking to, George Aubrey. He has Elevate Commercial Group. They've got we're partnered on a couple of deals, and I was talking to him, and he was like, "Man, I just had to keep the construction business because he's like, I'm finally starting to make money from the multifamily business." And he was 6,500 units and 5 years in. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm finally starting to make a little money.
Yeah.
So that's like, whoa, you know. So I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that about the real estate and the agent income or the coaching income or these other um, you know it just makes me feel like I'm not doing it wrong.
Yeah, and then I think we're sold. You go to some sort of boot camp or something, training, and like, oh, do one deal and be financially free. I don't know. That does not seem like reality to me. So
That's the Michael Blanc promise, I think.
right.
Um, yeah, no, and I've seen him illustrated, and his model is basically like, yeah, you can quit your job from the acquisition fees.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, tell us about scaling up and the transition. So you started just buying fourplexes on your own, and what made you take the leap from there to bringing on big partners and buying much bigger deals? What did that transition look like for you?
Yeah, I think after we bought like two fourplexes and then 11 unit in the first kind of 6 months of investing, and then we're like, we don't have a lot of money left now. What do we do? It still had a little bit, but I didn't want to just buy another fourplex because I see the scaling. So I found a 38 unit deal in Albuquerque, and we needed a lot of work. So we needed like $500,000 or $600,000 in equity, right? And I couldn't bring that myself, so I pulled a couple of friends and my broker as a partner. And we pulled just kind of pulled stuff together. But at that point, I had enough credibility to persuade and influence my friends to come in as in a joint venture type partnership with them, right? So that was the first kind of realization, maybe I can actually figure this out to start, raising money and doing bigger stuff, right? And that deal had some challenges early on, but it's doing amazing now. We still own it. So that was that, and then the scaling was like initially kind of partnering with some people that had all the infrastructure on to then like start really building that ourselves, right? So now I'm, giving my IT background, I'm really involved in systems and processes and asset management and all that stuff, right? So I am adding value to my partners and my teams by putting a lot of those back-end things in place so we can actually operate everything we got our hands on, right? Does that make sense?
That's awesome. What is the reason you picked Albuquerque, New Mexico?
So just to be clear, so I used to live there, and then I moved around a little bit. Now I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is about an hour up the road. It was just close. that was it, right? It's actually in retrospect, it's a good market to be in because it didn't have the crazy rise in prices that you saw in Phoenix and Dallas and stuff. But we haven't actually syndicated any. Well, we're doing a syndication, small warehouse syndication there now, but otherwise we haven't done anything. So we started there, but then my partner and I met, we are in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania has been those markets that we've really focused on in the last few years to grow in those areas.
So how do you find deals?
How do I find deals? That's my partner's role. He has great broker relationships and has been doing this for 20 plus years. And he just keep digging up deals. I don't know how he does it.
Who is your partner? Who is your partner?
Jason Perro. I don't know if you know him.
But I don't know him. Thought maybe I did.
But he's just like, well, I just found this deal. I was like, where are they coming from, right? But it's not. This is not like finding a deal in Denver or Dallas or something. This is like finding a deal in a tertiary market where the business plan is just longer term hold for cash flow, whatever, right? But I think it works for us, and we've been successful in. I would rather close 5 smaller deals in a year than 1 or 0 large deals in a year. Right?
Now, what do you mean by smaller deals? What are the sizes of these deals?
I mean, I think anywhere from so I think, what did we do last year? Anywhere from like $3 to $12 million kind of purchase price. So it's been kind of the range there.
So like what about like unit count? What I'm trying to back into here is like, are you sub 100 units? Are you in a space that's difficult to manage? Because we've got smaller assets that we have more difficulty with the fractional property management versus 150 unit that can support on-site staff full time.
Yeah, no, that's excellent question, right? No, so this is where I feel the way we developed our business is that we bought, for example, in Cleveland, 600-700 units, anywhere from just portfolios of properties. But since we have so many, and my partner is also a property manager, we can,
Awesome.
We can have one PM that covers 3 different buildings close by, right?
Great.
So we are able to create a scale among multiple properties versus the scale in one large property. So that's been the approach. So I wouldn't go to, some town where we've had no presence and buy 30 units. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense to add it to an existing portfolio in a market we already have a presence in.
No, that's a great answer. And what you just described would eliminate all of our woes. The places that we have issues, it's like we've only got that one small asset there. And so nobody wants to go out there, you know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense. And where we've remedied that, we've replaced property managers that aren't local to that area with property managers that have other smaller assets in the vicinity and are able to share those resources like you just described.
Yeah. Same thing in the stuff, my small stuff in Albuquerque, right? Hey, I have a property manager who managed, thousands of units there, and I'm good friends with the owner, and it doesn't matter that it's not on site. They still do well enough because there's enough staff to support that portfolio of smaller buildings.
So how do you get investors for these deals? Is that more your area of expertise, is raising capital? I know you focus a lot on the asset management with your systems and process from your tech background, but where does the capital come from?
Yeah. And I just came back from Raise Fest in Louisville, Kentucky.
Hunter's deal.
Yeah. So I don't have a system to the scale they do. I mean, it's been the typical friends and family, and just slowly getting more people interested, meeting more people, drip, my newsletter and stuff like that. So it's organic. It's not to the level that
what I've found, because I've created all of those systems and everything that Hunter does and everything that all of the guys do with the drip campaigns, with the lead magnets, with active campaigns, and all that stuff that all of the gurus sell in their little courses. Like, this is how you create an investor database, and this is how you get them. None of it's ever worked, but it's been effective. It's been effective in the sense that when all of I would say 90-something% of my investors were organic growth, right? It started with friends and family, and then it became their friends and family, and then their friends and family's friends and family. So we're on like the 5th iteration of referrals here. But what all that extra crap that I do does, with the podcast and the active campaign and the newsletter, it gives me validity to those referrals, right? So like somebody I met at a concert or somebody who downloaded the ebook and now they're getting the drip campaign. I haven't had very many of those convert from a cold person to an investor, but I'll tell you, when my second cousin's friend's cousin is referred to me and they go pull up Crestworth Capital's website and then they download the ebook, and then they start getting the emails. You know, oh, this guy looks pretty polished, and you know what I mean. He's got his shit together and it's going on. So like it solidifies the referrals, but it hasn't just gotten this like tons of cold traffic.
No, I think that's exactly what they were talking about too, right? You create enough trust and credibility that when people hear about you, they will invest with you versus, oh, who is this Sterling guy? How is this a scam? Blah, 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 right? So it creates implicit trust, which then helps. Because the same thing, like I have investors that just think, oh, it sounds good. Here's another 50K, right? It's like, well, because of the trust that's been built over time.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. So that makes me feel better.
So what's next for you?
I think really the key, I think where we really have struggled has just been bandwidth, right? And having the right systems in place for all these different properties. So really working a lot on asset management systems. We did actually hire a guy now, kind of not full time, but it's helping us. Oh my God, that's just freed up so much of my time, right? So really just because I didn't get into this to just work, crazy hours, right? So trying to get all these things kind of systems and so forth, right? So that's one thing. We're continuing to find deals and doing that, right? Kind of getting get that dialed in and making it more streamlined. So I think it's just continuing doing more of what we're good at and trying to be less busy every single day, which is an uphill battle.
Sure. I think people forget that all the time. Like we got in this to get away from the grind, not to grind even harder. I see that a lot with people that quit their job. They'll study real estate and they'll read Rich Dad Poor Dad or whatever, and they'll get introduced to these concepts of like a financial freedom, financial independence, and buying cash flow and assets. And they're like, oh, that sounds great. I could have a totally different lifestyle. And so they quit their job as an accountant or an engineer or a plant worker, and they go become like a property manager or a real estate agent. I'm like, well, you really just got another job. Like, yeah, it's in the real estate industry, but and a lot of times it's like you probably were making more money at the other one. So yeah, I think it's so important that we continue to keep the focus on freedom and like why we got into it. And to your point, when I hire somebody, I can always tell within like a month. I'm like, how did I literally survive before this? Like they're spending 40 hours a week and it's like the whole time is filled. I was doing 100% of that before, plus all the stuff I'm still doing. Like I'm still, I tell my team that all the time. I'm like, I used to do everything y'all are doing. I used to do it all. Like it was just me.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your coaching. So I know you coach as part of Rod's program, and then you mentioned you're a performance coach as well. Is that outside of the real estate stuff, or what do your coaching consist of?
Yeah, so I don't do anything for anybody else. It's all for myself. I quit. So basically, what I do, I offer what's called high performance coaching, which is really try to creating a holistic view of your life, right? Do you have the right clarity and energy and productivity and everything else? That's what we focus on, right? Because too often we just get so sucked into, oh, I just want to do a deal and nothing else matters. So this is just do you even want to be in real estate, right? You said people quitting a job because they read a book. Is that the right choice for you? So just getting clarity and helping people creating, joy and connection in their lives and so forth. So that's the high performance side of it. I do the mentoring too. It's like, okay, how do you underwrite a deal? How do you raise money? How do you do asset management? So that side of it as well, right? So that's what I do, kind of what I offer from the coaching mentorships standpoint.
So how do you market the coaching and the mentorship side of it?
Like this.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have been blessed to have enough referrals, enough people that, hear me on a podcast, just, go on my website to reach out. So I never do anything active. It's very much, I put a barrier of entry in there because I really want to work with the right people.
Sure.
If that makes sense. So.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. What advice do you have for somebody that's just starting out?
find a team, build a team early on. Don't try to do it by yourself because it's a grind and you just get frustrated and there's not a lot of joy by doing it by yourself. So find a team, have somebody that can help you, motivate you, keep you accountable, and everything else. That's the key thing to start with, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So real quick, I want to hop over to our radio round with 3 quick questions for our listeners. The first one is, what's your favorite book?
It changes, but I think I would say the Success Principles by
Napoleon Hill?
No, hang on. By Jack Canfield. Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Like one of the first books that really changed my life. So.
Awesome. You have a virtual background on, so it's weird.
Oh,
get around to your bookshelf. Yeah. It looks like you're looking out of the window of your California villa.
A bookshelf behind me.
What is your favorite quote?
I think from Henry Ford. It's something like either you think you can or you think you can't. You're right either way. Something to that effect. Right.
No, that's classic. And then what's your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Mountain biking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners find out more about you? How can they follow you, get in touch with you, invest with you, get coached from you?
Yeah, thanks. So I think I'm old school, send an email, Jens, Jens, at opendoors with an S, capital.com. Or people can go to my website, opendoorscapital.com/call, and they can book a free 20-minute call with me, investing, coaching. If they just want advice on real estate, by all means, I love to give back to the community that way.
Awesome. Jens, well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it and I enjoyed getting to chat, and I look forward to keeping up with you on your journey.
Thanks, Sterling. It was a lot of fun.
This episode was brought to you by Crestworth Capital. If you're a busy professional and ready to make passive income from real estate investing, then go to crestworthcapital.com, where you'll be able to download a free copy of our ebook to help you get started today. Until next week, happy investing.